Anytime Valve does something unrelated to people's favorite games, people just go absolute giga schizo. They rant on and on about how Valve just refuses to do anything productive, how Deadlock is doomed from the start, and how it is already certified trash 3 months before closed alpha. That's like your parents saying you're a complete utter failure that gulps up mountains of resources and care before you were even born. Returning to the original topic, let's talk about the very sane and reasonable Team Fortress 2 community's reaction to Deadlock. Deadlock will be temporary famous, and just like all Valve games after 2009, once the hype dies out, Valve slowly is cutting his life support. How ominous! How spooky! Look, TF2 isn't a flop. It is, in my opinion, the best FPS of all time, but you have to take the schizo pill to see things clearly. The reality is, arena shooters such as Quake and Unreal Tournament are just plain unpopular. Therefore, arena-ish shooters such as Team Fortress 2 do not appeal to the mainstream audience. Just look at Splitgate, Diabolical, Halo Infinite. These games aren't inherently bad, but the genre they belong to doesn't attract enough players. And at the end of the day, players are the heartbeat of multiplayer games. Now, I'm not gonna get into why everyone loves doing this. And really, I don't play these games enough to know. The point I'm hammering home is, TF2 has none of this, so it occupies the arena shooter-ish niche. So in order to replace TF2, the game in question must be occupying the same niche as well. Deadlock, however, has a hard to define niche, because it's an amalgamation of many. I'll just go with the majority of people here and say Deadlock is a third-person MOBA shooter. I'd say there's a lot of nuance to it, because some characters in Deadlock, such as the sniper, requires hard mechanical skills, which is aiming, while my favorite character, Abrams, just requires you to press the melee button and win. So how a shooter like Deadlock is depends on which playstyle you are currently running. Still, the game's goal is to get souls, buy items, and destroy enemy towers. So I'd say it's more of a MOBA than a shooter. The keen observers among you will now realize that a MOBA really has nothing to do with an arena shooter. Valve is smart not to make an Overwatch clone in this sense, because they know it's gonna become a flop. Just look at good old Concord. Well, as old as 2 weeks can be at least. Deadlock fundamentally is a different game than TF2. Hence, the people who play Deadlock are the ones that are just not interested in TF2 to begin with. So the claim that Deadlock is replacing TF2 is just baseless and completely sensational. In my opinion, new shooters like TF2 will never be popular again, so they will never be made. It is just not economically reasonable to make a PvP multiplayer game that doesn't align with the mainstream taste. TF2 is just too hard to pick up and focuses too much on flicking, while the mainstream players who play CS2 and Valorant are used to slower and more methodical aim. And now, we have Valve using its expertise to combine shooters and MOBAs to create Deadlock, a game that appeals to players who are fans of both genres. And not just any genre, shooters and MOBAs dominate the gaming and esports market. It is apparent that Valve is aiming to create a game that is as mainstream as possible. Therefore, a game like that could never ever replace the niche arena-ish shooter that is TF2.